You still have time to change your prediction. Oh my God, Germany is deploying troops to Greenland. It's the death note. All right, all right. I'll blast off real quick, dude. I'm bad. I'm bad. This year, all my predictions, especially on American insanity, American foreign policy is falling off the fucking wheels, dude. We are in a new environment. Okay, I am ready. I am ready to admit, the way of empire has always been violent, right? It's always been violent. But the way of empire has never been as belligerent, and also in the same way as open. Like the viciousness has been so open. We are genuinely reaching Hitler Putler levels of insanity. I mean, we've been doing a much more sophisticated version of global domination for, the last 100 years, obviously post World War II. But now this next phase in this is the next phase in American dominance, where we're just wrong. We have always been like this. No, 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 that's not true. That's literally not true. It is objectively untrue. We have never been this belligerent and this open about our naked ambitions. Okay? Like, that's why I'm saying the impact of it might have been the same, right? That's why I said we spent the last like almost 100 years dominating the entire globe. Okay? But this level of brazen imperialism, like no holds barred, base boosted, totally open about it, like just straight up saying like, no, we're doing it for oil, or no, we're doing it for natural resources, or like, it's just, I've never seen anything like it. Okay, twitch.tv/Hasanabi. Let's blast off another prediction down the fucking drain. Okay. On the domestic front, your boys got it. On the foreign policy front, your boy had it a lot better last year. My predictions were 19 out of 20 last year. This year, it's fucking cooked. Because the reasons as to why it's incredibly stupid to try and take over Greenland, like, it doesn't make sense. Okay, it does not make sense from a traditional imperialist sense. Okay, the reason why I make these sorts of predictions is because I'm thinking about it like a dying empire that still has a good grasp on rational, clear-cut imperial mindset. This is a different meta. This is a different attitude. Like, one of the things that I have consistently stated for you guys over and over again is the fact that Donald Trump is never going to rip apart NATO, right? Because it does not make sense. It makes no damn sense for America to just like personally destroy its largest vehicle of imperialism. NATO has been sold as a security contract for a lot of these countries, when in fact it was always a protection racket, right? It was always a protection racket. You said the same thing about Putin, to be fair. Exactly. Because the invasion of Ukraine was an irrational act. The invasion of Ukraine was an irrational act. And the potential invasion or annexation of Greenland is also an irrational act. Because I root my analysis in common sense. I assume that great powers, state leaders, no matter how crazy they might personally be, are still going to have some level of logic, some level of rationale in the way that they behave, because we're talking about state actors. It's not usually a unilateral decision-making process. It's oftentimes, I mean, there's no single man that goes, I'm doing it, right? And maybe with Vladimir Putin, there is a single man, but at least in America, there are a multitude of different financial factors at play that are supposed to be restraining the government. Capitalism, capital owners in general. But to be fair, I feel like we live in a different environment now, especially considering that even the forces of capital are clearly not upset enough at Donald Trump trying to take away the independence of the Fed and utilizing the Department of Justice to criminally prosecute Jerome Powell in order to threaten him because he's not moving fast enough on lowering interest rates in the way that Donald Trump wants. And the reason why I say that we're living in a very different time is because it has gotten to a place where like capital is unpredictable as well. Because in my expectation would be that the markets would open red and they would stay red, right? When you see someone like Jerome Powell being threatened in this way, he comes out and makes this like hostage style video saying Donald Trump is trying to kill me. You know, like the expectation is that the market reacts to that volatility by losing confidence in the state. Clearly that's not happening, right? It's not happening. So
take a look.
For me, looking at all this stuff, it leads me to believe that there is a lot more room for irrational behavior. There's a lot more room by leadership to engage in volatility and irrational behavior, and therefore it just makes it infinitely harder to predict where we go. Right? That's the problem with these sorts of predictions. I took the long way home to explain to you why another one of my predictions might be fucking wrong. When I said we don't annex Greenland, because Greenland makes no sense. Annexation of Greenland makes no sense. Greenland barely has a fucking 3-month window for commerce. And even then, there are obviously still many issues with the weather. Okay. Extracting natural resources from Greenland already is very difficult. It's a very difficult endeavor. Okay. Like there are much cheaper methods of extraction. There are much cheaper methods of extraction elsewhere. Straight up. Like I'm looking at this from a logical, through a logical lens. And I think it's partially because, yes, the melting ice, global warming is real, and it will become a much more viable territory to overtake. And also, its proximity to Russia is important, and you can control the Arctic routes when, like, the ice melts, and there's new trade routes that open up around the Arctic Circle. I guess, like, that's part of the reason. It's a future ambition that we're locking down right now. But even then, it's like, yeah, the level of investment required to harvest Greenland's natural resources makes it not really worth it in the first place. And this is the same exact argument you can make for Venezuela. Venezuela is not the regular style of imperialism that you see because oil extraction in Venezuela is not as profitable because of the heavy crude and because of the upfront investment that is a necessity to build up the refineries in Venezuela, especially considering the potential for political instability. It makes it so that like a lot of these companies, Western companies, don't want to actually invest in Venezuela, right? Like there's all these arguments, but at least with Venezuela, I can understand that you still want to dominate the entirety of this currently very important energy resource that in an effort to leverage the next energy resource that China already controls, right? Because China is going to run the world when the world shifts over to renewables. America might destroy the world before we get there by way of anthropogenic climate change or directly with nuclear holocaust. But like, it's obvious that China looked to the future and said, the future is renewables. We're going to dominate the space. We're going to have all the battery tech. We're going to control all the rare earth minerals on the procurement side and the refinement side. And nobody can come close. Nobody has the industrial base to come close to that. And America was like, bet. Well, we're still running on oil, so I'm going to take all the oil. And if you ever threaten me with a rare earth mineral export control ever again, I will shut off the oil faucet to you, right? But this doesn't, like, my point is, even from an empire sense, Venezuela makes more sense than a permanent annexation of Greenland, especially when you already had military bases in Greenland. You could still have military bases in Greenland. It's a fucking NATO country. It's a territory under a NATO nation. Without doing all this shit, without like genuinely flexing on your vassals, like it feels very strange. It feels incredibly strange to flex on your vassals like this, especially when they've been loyal servants of empire. The European Union and NATO both have served America willfully and diligently for the last almost 100 years at this point. And America is still like, it's not enough. I need you to suck it. And they're like, no, we'll get on our knees and we'll suck it, sir, please. And he goes, no, you need to suck it harder. And you need to tickle my asshole. And also, I'm taking your family members too. It's just, it does not make sense. It does not make sense at all. Danish Prime Minister, if Donald Trump attacks Greenland, it will be the end of NATO. I mean, yeah, it would be. It should be. We shall see where it goes. It does not make any sense. This is their only opportunity for projecting any kind of force. Well, this and also I guess like the tools of espionage that the Danish authorities have always had, working alongside the Americans closely with their operations. So I don't know what that means. We're also gearing up for potentially war. Evacuation has begun. U.S. Air Force planes evacuating the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Okay, this is weird because I've talked about this already, but I'm supposed to be going to Qatar soon. And I feel like I'm not going to be able to go to Qatar if this keeps going. Trump is not budging. Anything less than U.S. owns Greenland is unacceptable. I saw that. I saw what's going on. Yeah. Denmark is deploying an advanced command to Greenland consisting of a military material support and forward personnel ahead of a large force from the army that is expected to arrive soon on the territory, in addition to aircraft from the Royal Danish Air Force, according to Greenland-based newspaper Sørmit Siag. I mean, I want to say critical support to Denmark. Okay, critical support to Denmark in their anti-imperialist endeavor here, even though technically, I guess Greenland is also like a colonial holdover. It's not, but still, critical support. This is what I mean by critical support, okay? Critical support to the anti-imperialist forces of Denmark. I don't even know what to say here. What are we doing? This is like, Donald Trump was like, listen, I realized I can't fuck with countries that have nukes. And who are the only countries that don't have nukes? Countries that are under our nuclear security umbrella. So I guess I can just fuck them up. Someone's got to get fucked up. We got all these tools. We got all these weapons. We got to fuck them. Okay? We got to fuck someone. I can't fuck Russia. They got nukes. Can't do shit to North Korea. They got nukes. I have to fuck somebody up. Who is sitting there waiting to be fucked? Countries that previously thought they were under a security cooperation and under the nuclear security umbrella of NATO. That's right.